o'clock. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Go ahead and open up the city council meeting and call it to order. And the time is 7 o'clock. The opens. What? Oh, you're right. Thanks, Mark. Yeah, Board of Equalization. We'll open up the Board of Equalization meeting, call it to order. Time is 7 o'clock. Opens Meeting Act is posted on the back wall next to the agendas. This time we'll have roll call. Okay, first item on the agenda is a public hearing. Item 1 is Resolution 2025-081, approving the removal of 2 single-family owner-occupied properties from the BID number 1 assessments 2024 and 2023 tax roll. We'll have a report from our city clerk. I think we did have it on, but I'm not sure it's working.
Test.
It's very, very low. I would take any questions from the council this item. Councilwoman Lathrop.
I'm assuming that they've already paid their special assessment. Will they get a refund on that, or how does that work?
Yes, so no, it's working. The one property had not paid either of the assessments. The other property did pay one assessment, so this would also allow us to refund them. That is written into the resolution.
Any other questions for our city clerk? Okay, I'll now open the public hearing on this item. Seeing no comments, I'll close the public hearing. Are there any additional comments from council? There aren't. Councilman Sukram.
If there's no more questions, I'll make the motion for resolution 2025-081.
Councilman Horner.
I'll second.
Cast your votes.
The motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
I'd take a motion to adjourn the Board of Equalization meeting. Councilman Jensen.
So moved.
Councilman Horner.
Second.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
We are adjourned. I'll go ahead and open up the city council regular meeting and call it to order. The Opens Meeting Act is on the back wall next to the agendas. At this time, we'll have roll call for the city council regular meeting.
8 members are present, Mayor.
I have no comments this evening. We'll move on to item 1 is a motion to adopt the current agenda for the May 13th, 2025 city council meeting. Councilman Vaughn.
So moved.
Councilman Sukram.
I'll second.
Cast your votes on the agenda.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Okay, moving on to appointments. And item 2 is a motion to consent to the mayor's appointments of Mallory Larson and a reappointment of Dave Mitchell and Kirk Deers to the Airport Advisory Committee. I am pleased tonight to present the 3 appointments to the Airport Advisory Board. Dave Mitchell and Kirk Deers are both reappointments for 3-year terms. I appreciate both of them. And as a new appointment tonight, we have Mallory Larson. Mallory is here with us. She will be replacing Allison Adams, who had 2 3-year terms, and this board does have term limits in them, so she had to come off her term. But Mallory, as you can see, wrote a really nice few paragraphs in the backup about her background. She is a pilot with Southwest Airlines, been in Fremont here for 5 years. And again, will be a great addition to the airport board. Very passionate about aviation. And, just super excited that she's willing to be a part of the airport board and volunteer her time. I'm about to have here a young family too here in the future. So it's great to have them in Fremont and their excitement to serve on the airport board. So I would take a motion if there's no other comments to approve these 3 appointments. Councilman Jensen.
I'll make a motion to approve Mallory Larson, Dave Mitchell, and Kirk Deers to the Airport Advisory Committee.
Councilman Sukram.
I will second.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Congratulations, Mallory. Item 3 is a motion to consent to the mayor's reappointments of Stan Darling, Raul Horice, Zach Carlson to the Planning Commission. Again, these are reappointments to the Planning Commission. Appreciate all these 3 individuals being willing to be reappointed. They have had a big job over the last, few months, more than that, working on the UDC changes. And again, they're willing to volunteer their time on the Planning Commission for the city. So take any questions from the council. Councilman Sukram.
I didn't have a question. I'll make the motion if no one else has any comments.
Okay. Motion to approve the reappointments. Councilwoman Lathrop.
Second.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
And then item 4 is a motion to consent to the mayor's reappointment of Maggie Lipsis to the Utility and Infrastructure Board. Again, this is a reappointment. Maggie, appreciate her willingness to serve another term. I'd take any questions from the council, and if not, I'd take a motion for the reappointment. Councilman Horner.
I will make that motion.
Councilman Peterson.
I second.
Cast your votes, please.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Now moving on to public hearings. Item 5, ordinance 5713, amending the language of the Fremont Municipal Code, Chapter 10, Article 7, Section 10-710. There is a request to suspend rules and move to final reading. Now have a staff report. Michael, do you want to do that?
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This just goes back to what we approved in the Board of Equalization. This is the actual ordinance that gives us the power to exempt those properties from the special assessment. So I will take any questions if anyone has any.
Councilman Horner.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick question. Have we reviewed this? Are we certain we've got all the single family homes out of the BID now?
Yes, so I've done my best to just go through and verify that all the single family owner occupied properties are out of the BID. So we kind of go off the Dodge County assessor's information, but we do go through and review it for the most part, because the previous ordinance allowed us to exempt properties. It was relatively easy to just go through and verify and line up which ones had previously tried to exempt before we removed the exemption process. So it will just require some additional attention when we go through each year and do that assessment.
Any other questions on this item from the council for staff? We'll now open the public hearing. Seeing no comments, I'll close the public hearing. Are there any additional comments from council on this item? Councilman Horner.
I don't have any additional comments, Mayor. I was just going to say, if there are none, I would move that we approve ordinance 5713, amending the language for the Fremont Municipal Code stated for first reading.
Okay. Councilwoman Ganem.
Second.
Cast your votes. This would be to introduce and hold first reading.
The motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
First reading.
Ordinance number 5713, an ordinance of the city of Fremont, Nebraska, repealing and replacing chapter 10, article 7, section 10-710 of the Fremont Municipal Code and all other ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance, providing for severability and providing when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect. First reading.
Okay, I did do the public hearing. Okay. All right, there a motion to suspend rules? Councilman Sukram.
I'll make that motion to suspend the rules and move to final reading.
Councilman Ganem.
Second.
Cast your votes.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
A final reading.
An ordinance of the city of Fremont, Nebraska, repealing and replacing chapter 10, article 7, section 10-710 of the Fremont Municipal Code and all other ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict with this ordinance, providing for severability and providing when this ordinance shall be in full force and effect. Final reading.
Cast your final vote.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor. Ordinance number 5713 is approved.
Moving on to the consent agenda, all items in the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or a citizen so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Are there any items to be removed from the consent agenda by council or staff? Okay, any items to be removed from the public? Okay, seeing no items, I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda. Councilman Jensen.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent agenda as it stands.
Councilman Peterson.
And I second.
Cast your votes.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Moving on to unfinished business, item 15 is ordinance number 5712 for a change of zone to R rural and GC general commercial to mobile home plan development for the Meadowbrook mobile home community. This would be for final reading.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council, Jennifer Dam, Planning Director. This is the third and final reading to change the zoning of the Meadowbrook development to a planned development. It will allow it to become a conforming use and for significant investment to be put in place to modernize and update the park. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Again, this is final reading. Thank you. Are there any comments from the public on this item? There's no other additional comments from council. I would take a motion. Councilwoman Ganem.
I move we hold final reading of ordinance 5712.
Councilman Horner.
I will second.
Cast your votes.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
A final reading.
Ordinance number 5712, an ordinance of the city of Fremont, Nebraska, amending ordinance number 5427 as it pertains to the zoning map to rezone the property generally located at Gusty Drive and Platte River Road from R rural and GC general commercial to PD plan development, providing for repeal of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for severability, and providing an effective date. Final read.
Now have the final vote.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor. Ordinance number 5712 is approved.
Moving on to new business is item 16 is a motion to receive the housing condition study. And Jennifer, do you want to introduce who we have here today?
Yes, I'd be happy. Last fall, we contracted with JEO to conduct a vacant lot housing condition and infrastructure condition study. They have the report for us tonight. They created a GIS tool for us to be able to use internally. We can keep that up to date and look at it in detail, which will help us hopefully as we prepare our CIPs and with code enforcement. This is Kristen Anuka from JEO, and I'll let her present.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Mayor Council, thank you for having me here. I'm just going to talk a little bit about the process first and then some of our findings. And then if you guys have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. First, Jennifer, as she laid out, we started this process last October. And through about like 4 to 5 months, we were able to conduct a complete windshield survey of your community, which included an evaluation of residential property as well as some infrastructure evaluation. So we drove every street in town. We took a look at all the residential properties, and with the support of Jennifer and her team, we created a criteria based on need for improvement of those residential parcels so that you guys can see in that final report what is the breakdown of private properties in town that could benefit from a rehabilitation program or could benefit from improvement, whereas there may be density of some of our poor condition homes versus higher value homes. And some of those things, and I can show you the criteria. That we used. This is all in that final report for you guys too, if you want to reference. So for, we had a 5 rating scale from complete renovation, substantial, moderate, minor, all the way up to no improvement needed. And some considerations that went into each of these criteria levels were foundation, roofing condition, siding, windows, and then any other exterior elements that we could see from the windshield survey. I should say too, a windshield survey is exactly what it sounds like. It's a visual inspection of a property or a location from the windshield of a vehicle. So there's no direct access to that property. And it's strictly just the exterior evaluation of that property. So within the report, you can see a breakdown of overall conditions of homes in the community. For the most part, you have a majority of minor improvements needed to properties within the community. And then the second largest group was moderate improvement needed, and substantial was about 5%, and then 21% is no improvement needed, and then less than 1% was in need of a complete renovation. So the benefit to the GIS map itself, though, is that you're going to be able to isolate each of those conditions and be able to see them spatially on that GIS inventory. So if staff are looking for people to participate in their rehabilitation program, they can isolate what's every property that was considered to be in need of complete renovation. And then they can see all of those properties, and then they can reach out directly to those property owners and ask, are you interested in participating in this program that the city offers? It also took a look at vacant property as well as vacant lots for any infill development in town. And then we also looked at any non-conforming residential uses that currently exist within their zoning district. So that might be conversations about acquisition, zoning change, whatever it might be in the future to determine if we want to continue to allow that residential property within that zoning district where it's not allowed. The second part of this windshield survey was an evaluation of infrastructure. So this took a look at your streets, sidewalks, and your curb and gutter conditions. And this was based on a scale of poor, fair to good. Sorry, Michael, we're really coordinating here together. I'll show you that criteria. So considerations of elements within each of those were surface, drainage, pavement condition, curb condition, and then traffic markings. This is going to be most helpful in terms of your CIP development, as Jennifer referenced. It's going to be really helpful for your public works department to be able to have real-time information on street and sidewalk conditions in the community. You guys obviously know your major corridors. You've got Broad, you know, those are the ones people travel every single day. You know that those need regular improvements and investments. But this isolation of individual street segments, sidewalk segments that are in need of improvement are going to show you where are those needed improvements that are hiding in the community that maybe we're not able to just see every day because they're not in plain sight. And then overlaid on top of that, it's really helpful to see what is the relationship between our housing conditions, and our infrastructure conditions. So we've developed this heat map, which is available within that GIS inventory as well, to show what is the connection between some of our porous housing conditions and our porous infrastructure conditions, and how do they relate to each other. So if someone lives in a neighborhood with a significant number of poor condition homes and poor condition sidewalks, how does that impact their quality of life and their access to city services, their walkability, all of those things. So I would say for you all at the leadership level, the most important things to take away from this survey or this entire report, one, this is the most comprehensive data set I think I have seen a city have in terms of housing and infrastructure conditions. In all of my planning work in the state, I don't know any other city that has this much data collected on its housing and infrastructure conditions. So it's incredibly valuable for your staff, for you to be able to make the best informed budget decisions, how you're going to invest in projects, and then also just this spatial view. You know, you can walk around your city and see improvements, but when you look at it from this level, this spatial level, this aerial view of your community, and you can pinpoint exactly where improvements needed, that streamlines staff's day-to-day operations so much. And then the last is, I'd say this is just the beginning of this inventory, and that it can continue to be developed and built upon by staff and include more data sets as you continue to use it, fine tune it however you might need to, and really customize it so that it can grow with your community as well as with leadership's needs. That's all I have for general findings. I would take any questions or if you have anything else you want to add.
It's going to be really important information for us to be able to look at patterns and where those patterns exist in the community, and then decide if those are areas we want to direct resources to. So this will be really, really great information for us to have.
Councilman Horner. Thank you, Mayor. Kristen, thank you very much for the explanation. This is a question more about the data collection and kind of how you guys are classifying things. Specifically on vacant lots. I mean, obviously a vacant lot's pretty easy to identify. Were you keeping track of how many of them would be considered, infill versus in a new development? Kind of a thing as you were going through, and do we know that number?
Yeah.
Is that somewhere in here?
Yeah, I would say it's not necessarily broken down in the report, but in the inventory itself, you can see, I'm not sure what the subdivision development is called, but out in your northeastern part of town, there are a numerous number of empty lots, vacant lots there that just haven't been sold yet.
Right.
So they're part of a subdivision development that's already been approved and it's already been platted and everything. But then the other side of this, well, maybe two more sides, is the vacant lots that are in town, the city core, that could be viable for infill development. And then there's also on top of that vacant structures.
If I could just follow up.
Yeah.
Jennifer, is there a way that we're going to be able to parse that and understand which of those are the infill lot opportunities?
We do have the information on vacant lots within the developed part of town that could be infill opportunities. Hopefully, once the UDC is done, we can take a look at that data in more depth to further determine if they're actually infill opportunities for us or not, looking at the size of the lots, the location and the ownership of the lots. At this point, the data doesn't do that deep of a dive.
I would be interested. I think that could help us in some of these other problems.
There is a lot
challenges. I shouldn't say
sure.
problems,
There's a
but
lot of
challenges.
interest in the data. We want to be very careful to keep it at a very high level because it's like an impressionist painting. It was a wind chill survey, so we have an impression of the properties from the street. We don't have permission to go and look at the properties, go on anybody's property. So it's just based on what is visible from the street. There may be properties that look fantastic, but are horrible on the inside, and this doesn't capture that, or vice versa. They may look terrible on the outside, but they're in great shape on the inside and just need some rehabilitation. What this will help us do is, like I said earlier, establish what some of those patterns are, So then we can help direct some resources to those areas.
I will say too, if I could, that within the GIS inventory, each individual parcel has a profile that will pop up when you select it. And when you select it, it'll tell you the zoning district it's in, the square footage of the lot, the legal address.
It's pulled from the county assessor's
Yes.
data.
So you can see a quick snapshot of square footage of the lot, maybe not dimensions that would help with some infill development, but each individual parcel does have a little more detailed information available,
right.
so you can build on that a little bit
All
more.
right. Thank you.
Any other questions from the council? I'll just say I appreciate all the work you did on this report. We as a community have a need for an additional 1,000 units by 2035. We had a housing study done. You know, when you look at, yes, we need it all. The new development to infill to rehab. And I think this is going to help us have an idea of where within our existing neighborhoods, within where we have streets and utilities and, you know, we're scooping snow and spending resources that we have opportunities to incentivize rehab or infill development. I think that's going to be very beneficial to our community, especially as we continue to grow. So this is great data. Thanks for your work. I appreciate it. And then Jennifer mentioned it's perfect timing as we go through the UDC with this process too, is we can take a look at what those lot sizes and requirements and then kind of mend the UDC to make sure we're going to take advantage of those opportunities. Right. Thank you. Are there any comments from the public on this item? Any additional comments from council? Councilman Horner.
No, Mayor, no additional comments. If there are none from anyone else, I would make the motion to receive the housing study condition or the housing condition study.
Councilwoman Lathrop.
Second,
Cast your votes.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Item 17 is resolution 2025-108 authorizing the purchase of a 2025 Ditch Witch JT5 directional drill from Ditch Witch Underground in the amount of $136,081.12 plus taxes. We'll have staff report.
Troy Shaven. On this one, I'll be the Assistant General Manager of Utilities. The gas department is asking to purchase a Ditch Witch. It's a directional boring machine. It's one of the smallest machines they make. It'll help us bore gas main around town. It's also going to be utilized by the electric distribution department for possibly underground cable in backyards. It'll really help us speed up the process and avoid ripping up people's backyards. Right now, you either have to do it with a backhoe or they have a cutter machine that kind of slices the main in. And if you're running 3 or 4 yards and they've got fences, it becomes a very difficult process. This will allow us to bore under all that and do it in one run. It was funds are available in the budget to pay for this. Utility Infrastructure Board approved it 5-0 at the meeting earlier today. I can answer any questions.
Questions for staff on this item? Any comments from the public? There's no additional comments. I would take a motion. Councilman Sukram.
I'll make a motion on resolution 2025-018.
Councilman Vaughn.
I would second.
Cast your votes.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Item 18 is resolution 2025-114 authorizing staff to execute contract with Sand Creek Construction Company for implementation of Fremont citywide insurance repairs. Go ahead, Troy.
For Shaven City Engineer, this item is, we sent out an RFP for assistance with facilitating the repairs due to the hailstorm. Last year, actually, we have gone back and forth on how to do this. There was approximately between the city and the Department of Utilities, about $5 million worth of damage, 100 individual separate areas with claims. Talking to our insurance companies, there is a provision in our insurance that allows us to hire a construction advisor or someone to run the projects for us. So then the insurance will actually pay 10% of the construction costs to that firm to run the projects. So we went out for an RFP. Sand Creek Construction submitted what staff determined to be the best submittal, and we're recommending to go with Sand Creek Construction. Take any questions.
Questions for staff? Councilman Horner.
I know the physical impact is stated as repairs paid for insurance claims. Do we have the information at hand on what the city deductibles will be? That might be I don't know if you know.
They're not, their city's deductible is actually only about $10,000 and the utilities deductible is about $100,000. So I think it's 110 total for both.
All right, perfect, thank you.
Any other questions? Any comments from the public on this item? There's no other comments. I would take a motion. Councilman Horner.
I will make the motion to approve resolution 2025-114, authorizing staff to execute the contract with Sand Creek Construction Company.
Councilman Sukram.
I'll second.
Cast your votes.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Item 19 is resolution 2025-110, authorizing the purchase of a CAT 930 14A wheel loader, in the amount of $285,200. Of staff report.
For Shaven City Engineer, this is for a replacement wheel loader for the street department. There are funds budgeted for this year. That particular piece of equipment is 15 years old. It'll be used to move snow, road work in the winter, sand, and that can also be used for summer projects if we have to move dirt or anything around town. It's a Sourcewell contract for $285,000. The existing piece of equipment will be auctioned off on, I believe we usually use big iron, I think at the Utility and Infrastructure Board meeting. Ryan said he's hoping to get $30,000 or $40,000 for that piece of equipment.
Questions for staff? Okay, any comments from the public on this? There's no further questions or comments. I would take a motion. Councilwoman Ganem.
I move we accept the resolution of the city council authorizing the purchase of a CAT 930 14A wheel loader in the amount of $285,200.
Councilman Sukram.
I'll second.
Cast your votes.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
And now item 20, resolution 2025-115, sending notice of public nuisance and notice of condemnation to owners of 85 South Irving Street. Staff report from Molly.
That gets to be me tonight. Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council. I am not going to belabor everything that Travis, and I think it was rather cut and pretty obvious based upon the photographs and information given to you all. But of course, if you have any questions, feel free to chime in. What we are looking for you all to do is to declare the property a nuisance and afford our office the ability to, or this, I think it's our office. Afford our office the ability to send them the notice of said nuisance, and then also to provide them notice that it may be a condemnation as well, and then to start that time clock ticking for any appeals process, and then for us to better the situation that is located at that property. So with that being said, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
Councilman Peterson.
Is it a owner occupied, or is it occupied at all, or is it a rental property?
I do not believe it's occupied. In fact, I believe the owners may not even, I could be wrong.
Kevin Kubo, why don't you come up here? And
Yes.
Meet everybody. I met
Yes.
you already.
Thank you. Yes.
From complaints I've got from neighbors, apparently somebody's living in the house. I don't know if they're renting it or if they're just squatting there. They're concerned with the people that are, the structure is not habitable and they're in there with or without permission. So that's why I brought this complaint to Travis to forward that complaint process. Get it to this point.
Thank you. Councilman Horner. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, we went from a really feel-good situation today and then we, you know, have this. I drove by it yesterday to take a look and you can't see that much for the road. I mean, you can obviously tell that the property is in, you know, pretty severe need of help. What I want to say is more, I don't know, a plea or a philosophical or something like that, because we did just have an experience today that, you know, I'm still riding pretty high on cloud nine from. You know, we're going to be closing pretty good on what I call doozy, you know, the project at Platt. And by all rights, I have a feeling that if that had been brought to the city's attention, that we would have been having the same conversation about this property. That's the property today. And instead, we got somebody moving into it. First time home buyer, owner occupied, young man, you know, from Fremont, out of the, from Fremont High, maybe.
CTE Center.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just a great story. But move that aside, just think about the win for the community. And it's just too bad that we can't intervene some way in properties like this before they get to this point where we have to make these difficult decisions. And I don't expect an answer today. I really don't, but I sure do hope that we're thinking about it and trying to figure it out. We just received our housing study, and on the backside of that, we're talking about condemning a house, and I get it. I understand why. I'm not questioning that at all. I'm just bringing it up to say that there are resources out there that don't necessarily have to cost the city. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Don't have to cost the city money, but maybe we could save a property. Sorry.
No, if I may respond to that, doing this notice and providing that opportunity, it does start that time clock and provide them the opportunity to. So we're not automatically walking over and raising this property. This is, hey, you've let it fall in disrepair. You have an opportunity to fix it. Do you want to? And giving the opportunity for those landowners to be able to rectify what they've allowed to be created. So I think it does foster what you experienced this morning. It just may not immediately foster what you experienced.
I just think that's so important. I really do in situations like this. You know, this is the second one that I've been involved in on a condemnation, and you never walk out of this room feeling good about that. You just don't. Thank you.
Councilwoman Ganem.
Now, on the other hand, Rebuild has been involved in the past one and it wasn't, they couldn't even accept it. So that made it kind of a moot position there for them. So we couldn't redo that. It would be nice if there was some way to do these much sooner, as Councilman Blair pointed out before it gets to this point where we have to have condemnation on it.
That's my goal, is to be more interactive in the community, find these structures that aren't past that point of no return. Get them, work with the owners, get them to rehab them or sell them to somebody else that can rehab them, keep them in the community. Because if we have an empty lot, we have an empty lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's easy to work with people to get them to do the right thing. Keep a house a house. This is the extreme situation here where we're at a point where we have to either tear it down or something else. So we don't like to be here. We spend more money doing that than we would if we got somebody in there that would rehab.
We don't
That's the
like it
goal.
either, so.
Yeah, that's the goal of the department, is not to tear a house down, but make it livable.
And I
How we
would
get
think
there.
owners would have more responsibility toward their own homes. And we identified in our housing study, there were 88 homes, and many of those were vacant homes at this point. This would be a good time to assess
Well, then
those.
that could be just a letter to the homeowners. What would you like to do with the property? If they don't want to do anything, then we know their position, we move on and take our time, and we're going to get a good return on it.
Thank you.
Councilman Peterson.
I have a question too. When you said you made the comment, the clock starts ticking. What is the process? What is the timeline?
Sure. The timeline is once they receive notice, they have 5 days to appeal the
Okay.
notice of whatever and to come before you all. So at
Okay.
the next meeting, we'll either progress towards the condemnation aspect and rectifying it on our, and then assess that value to that homeowner, or the homeowner can come in and say, whoa, I'm going to try and do this. Can we, they're appealing to you to pause and or take other action. So that's the time window that we're talking about.
So let's say, and I hate to use this term, but there's a few slumlords in town. So let's say they do nothing, but then what?
Then we move forward with the condemnation and try to rectify the situation, because as he said, I do not believe that it is a leased property. I believe it is a squatter
Oh,
based
yeah. Oh, I'm sure
property,
it is.
which is probably
Yeah.
not something that we all want to
No.
be perpetuated
No.
in that community. So
I mean, could the city ever do a forced sale or something and say, we're gonna buy it for tax value and you can't take care of it, so we will? I mean, I hate to, I mean, it sounds like it's, I don't know.
Falls into your court.
we'll get to that part. How's
Okay.
that sound?
Okay. Yeah, because I'm sure the neighbors, just like over here on Platt, that was Kirk Brown told me they were looking at daylight through the ceiling and people were living there. I'm going, gosh, I would, people in this room wouldn't have their dogs living there, and yet humans were. And you just go, gosh, so that's just another element. But at any rate, well, okay. Well, it sounds like you're working on a solution. So that's wonderful. Thank you.
That's the plan.
Councilman Vaughn.
Certainly appears this one's past the point of no return, and if there's no other comments, I'd make a motion to approve the resolution.
Are there any comments from the public on this item? Okay. There is a motion to approve. Councilman Horner.
I'll second.
That
Missing one vote.
go a little early. That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
Okay, I would take a motion to adjourn. Councilman Jensen.
I will make that motion.
Councilman Horner.
I will second.
Cast your votes.
That motion carries 8-0, Mayor.
We are adjourned. Have a good night, everybody.
I felt bad. I could kind of